What's new from Apple? There's the new iPhone 16 Pro, built for Apple Intelligence. And it comes with the all-new camera control, giving you an easier way to quickly access your camera tools. The new Apple Watch Series 10 has our biggest display and our thinnest design ever. And this? It's the sound of active noise cancellation, now available on one of 2 new AirPods 4 models. So quiet. Check out all of the new products and new features at apple.com. You can even buy yourself something new. See apple.com for product availability updates. Apple Intelligence coming this fall.
Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
Thanks for listening to the Red Treehouse, where I tell scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse on your favorite streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Oh, and leave a 5-star review. You can follow the Red Treehouse on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, Threads, and Facebook at Red Treehouse Pod. And now you can find the Red Treehouse on Patreon. Join the Red Treehouse community for as little as $3 per month and receive exclusive member benefits, including personal shoutouts, early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and more. Simply go to patreon.com/Red Treehouse. As always, if you have a scary story or topic you'd like me to feature on an upcoming episode, email redtreehousepod@gmail.com. Important note, sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Red Treehouse is dedicated to my dad. I love you, Pop. Growing up, I loved spooky shows like The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, Twin Peaks, and my all-time favorite, The X-Files. But there's one other show that to this day boasts my favorite scary episode, Night Gallery. A sort of follow-up to The Twilight Zone, Night Gallery was an anthology series hosted by the legendary Rod Serling. And though not as successful as its predecessor, Night Gallery had a modest run, 43 episodes, over 3 seasons. You could argue the show started with a bang, because to me at least, the pilot episode is the creepiest and most memorable. Released in November 1969, The Cemetery tells the story of Jeremy Evans, played by Roddy McDowall, who murders his uncle for his estate and is then haunted by a painting that continuously changes. At first, the painting shows a freshly dug grave. Then, it shows a casket leaning against the grave. After destroying the painting, Jeremy is relieved. For a time. Because not only does the painting reappear on the wall, but it's also changed again. This time, the figure of his dead uncle is standing just outside the cemetery gates. With each passing glance, the painting changes again and again, with the uncle coming closer and closer. Until one night, Jeremy hears footsteps outside of his bedroom window. Fearful for what lies ahead, Jeremy calls the police about a possible intruder, and the painting changes again. This time, showing his uncle just outside the front door. I won't spoil the ending for you, but Roddy McDowall is masterful in the lead role and works every bit of his talent to build tension suspense, and a palpable fear, until it explodes in a shocking conclusion. As a kid, the episode scared the hell out of me. And though I love art, to this day, I've always wondered if haunted and cursed paintings really exist. In this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're going to explore 3 terrifying and allegedly cursed paintings. Is there such thing as a haunted or cursed painting? Can an evil spirit attach itself to a work of art and torment its owner? And are these 3 paintings truly haunted? I'll share the details. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Welcome to the Red Treehouse. Considered one of the world's most haunted paintings is The Hands Resist Him by William Stoneham, completed in 1972. Truly, the painting is eerie and shows a young boy standing in front of a glass panel door. Next to him is a smaller female doll. The young boy is looking out at the artist, or in our case, the viewer, while the young doll is staring off at an angle into the distance. These aspects alone are a bit creepy, but it's what's behind the boy and the doll that will cause your hair to stand on end. Behind the glass panel door is pitch blackness, and pressed against the window pane are hands, small children's hands. The symbolism is fascinating. According to Stoneham, the painting is based on a photograph of himself when he was 5 years old. The glass-paneled doorway represents, quote, the dividing line between the waking world and the world of fantasy and impossibilities, end quote. The female doll, quote, is a guide that will escort the boy through it, end quote. And the hands pressed against the glass-paneled door, quote, represent alternate lives or possibilities, end quote. Something interesting. The Hands Resist Him is the first of 5 paintings, entitled The Hand Series. The 4 sequels include Resistance at the Threshold, painted in 2004, The Threshold of Revelation, painted in 2012, The Hands Invent Him, painted in 2017, and What Remains, painted in 2021. The 4th painting in the series shows an alternative view of the original painting. This one, a back view, looking through the glass-paneled door, with the silhouettes of the young boy and female doll in the background, and the artist, now older, in the foreground, hard at work. Shortly after Stoneham completed The Hands Resist Him, the painting was given to the owner of the Fine Garden Gallery in Beverly Hills, California. The painting was included in an art show at the gallery, where it was reviewed by an art critic for the Los Angeles Times. Within a year, both the gallery owner and the art critic, both of whom were described as healthy, were dead. During the art show, actor John Marley purchased the painting. Marley is best known for playing movie producer Jack Waltz in The Godfather, the film producer whose beloved horse cartoon is decapitated and has its head placed in his bedsheets. Sometime after purchasing the painting, Marley set it on the wall of an old brewery, where it rested for several years. In fact, Marley owned the painting for over a decade, before passing away in 1984, following open-heart surgery. For nearly 16 years, the painting went undiscovered. Until 2000, when it was listed on eBay. The listing read, quote, "When we received this painting, we thought it was really good art. A picker had found it abandoned behind an old brewery. At the time, we wondered a little why a seemingly perfectly fine painting would be discarded like that. Today, we don't. One morning, our 4.5-year-old daughter claimed that the children in the picture were fighting and coming into the room during the night. Now, I don't believe in UFOs or Elvis being alive, but my husband was alarmed. To my amusement, he set up a motion-triggered camera for the nights. After 3 nights, there were pictures. The last 2 pictures shown are from that stakeout. After seeing the boy seemingly exiting the painting under threat, we decided the painting has to go. Please judge for yourself. Before you do, please read the following warning and disclaimer. Warning: do not bid on this painting if you are susceptible to stress-related disease, faint of heart, or are unfamiliar with supernatural events. By bidding on this painting, you agree to release the owners of all liability in relation to the sale or any events happening after the sale that might be contributed to this painting. This painting may or may not possess supernatural powers that could impact or change your life. However, by bidding, you agree to exclusively bid on the value of the artwork, with disregard to the last 2 photos featured in this auction, and hold the owners harmless in regard to them and their impact, expressed or implied." End quote. The now infamous eBay listing included pictures of, quote, "the female doll character threatening the male character with a gun that she was holding, causing him to attempt to leave the painting." End quote. The post attracted attention, and the painting was eventually sold for $1,025. The new owner eventually connected with Stoneham, who helped clear the air regarding the painting. Though the previous owners assumed the female doll was holding a gun, Stoneham corrected this by saying, quote, "The gun is actually nothing more than a dry cell battery and a tangle of wires." End quote. Speaking of the painting, Stoneham stated, quote, "Where to begin? Well, I've always had a connection to what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious. I think we all do. Artists, especially visual artists, are barometers for the currents that run through this collective. Dreams are a common experience people may have with this. Anyway, my own experience is a sensitivity to place, physical, geographical place. There are memories, echoes of all the life within a place. Maybe it's what's called channeling. When I painted The Hands Resist Him in 1972, I used an old photo of myself at age 5 in a Chicago apartment. The hands are the other lives, the glass door, that thin veil between waking and dreaming. The girl doll is the imagined companion or guide through this realm." End quote. Inarguably, one of the scariest paintings, The Anguished Man, is visually jarring. Set against a blue background is a humanoid figure with bronze-like skin, hollow black eyes, and a mouth set wide open as if screaming. It's difficult to fully describe what the humanoid looks like, but if you've ever seen The X-Files Season 2, Episode 2, entitled The Host, the flukeworm creature resembles the Anguished Man. To date, the artist remains unknown, though the owner, Sean Robinson, claims he inherited the painting from his grandmother. One article, containing an interview with the owner, stated, quote, "The Anguished Man painting was given to me by my grandmother. The artist of the painting is unknown, but we do know that the artist mixed his own blood into the paint and committed suicide not long after the painting was finished. I can guarantee you that the original haunted painting is locked away in a secure location, and I have no intention of selling it." End quote. According to Robinson, the painting is the cause of significant and scary paranormal phenomenon he's experienced over the years. One article stated, quote, "My grandmother had this painting in her attic for 25 years. She said it was evil. She told us she used to see the dark figure of a man around the house, and at night, she heard strange noises and crying. Shortly after we got the painting, various members of the family started seeing the dark figure of a man. At night, we began hearing noises, and just recently, we have heard crying and moaning." End quote. Though the dark figure is often seen out of the corner of his eye, Sean Robinson also claims to have seen him in full view. In fact, he claims the dark figure sometimes stands at the foot of his bed, just staring at him. Robinson believes the figure to be a middle-aged man, though the features are often indistinguishable. Over the years, Robinson has attempted to gather video evidence of the haunted painting, even setting up a camera in the spare bedroom. For 3 nights, Robinson recorded for 4 hours, from 1 to 5 a.m., and upon review of the footage, claimed to hear banging noises. But that's not all. On the second night, just after 3 a.m., Robinson claims the painting, quote, "suddenly fell over, and immediately afterward, a small orb is visible just above the painting." End quote. He claims this would have been physically impossible, as the painting was leaning against the wall at a sharp enough angle to prevent falling over. He also claims to have experienced, quote, "a strange mist at the top of the stairs. It was like I was suddenly surrounded by smoke, and I became very cold. But then, it just vanished as quickly as it came." End quote. Something interesting. Though Sean Robinson admits the artist is unknown, there is a creepypasta entitled The Anguished Man, which offers a fictionalized origin story of the famous painting. I'll read it in its entirety, and you can find the link in the show notes. Quote, "The day started out like no other. Michael had just gotten home from work and sat down in front of his television, mindlessly staring into the endless void of pixels dancing around on a glass screen. After a few short minutes of mind-numbingly staring into the television, he decided to go and get himself an ice-cold beer from the fridge. On the journey there, he heard something on the TV that unlocked a memory that had been long buried and forgotten for what he thought was an eternity. He went to the decrepit dungeon hidden away by a secret eroded door he kept underneath the family rug, carefully placing his large foot on the small first step of the descent, tiptoeing down each step afterwards, making sure not to slip, fall, or break the slats of the feeble stairs he fumbled down. He trod on an old leather ball and slipped into the entangling darkness of the locked-away cellar, accidentally shutting the door behind him. With only a speck of light creeping through an unreachable double-glazed window at the top of the ceiling, taunting and teasing him about the freedoms outside, he blindly felt around for the painting he tried to recover in the first place. On first gaze of the thought-provoking portrait of the Anguished Man, Michael found himself lost for words at the hidden beauty of this disturbing painting. After retrieving the lost portrait, Michael struggled to find his way back to the steps leading back to the light that he could barely see coming through a minuscule gap in the floorboards, as if God were guiding him back to his domain, where he could be safe from the dark devils that dwelled in the cellar. After approximately 3 minutes of floundering up the dusty stairs, he finally managed to make his way back to the outside world. The first action he took was to hang the horrifying picture on the drooping wallpaper of his one-bedroom apartment. Later that night, he heard strange noises coming from outside his bedroom, roughly where he hung the Anguished Man. After thoroughly investigating the cause of the noise, he found no evidence, except a small knife lying on the floor of his small kitchen. After coming to the conclusion that the wind was playing tricks on him, and that it had magically opened his cutlery drawer and picked up a metal knife and threw it on the floor, he made his way back to his room, where he drifted back off to sleep. Halfway through the night, he felt a warm liquid drip down his face and decided to wipe it off, thought nothing of it, and drifted off back to sleep. The next morning, Michael woke up to find his pillow smothered in the amount of blood needed to drown someone. Quickly rushing to the bathroom to grab some tissue paper, he found that when he looked in the mirror, his ear was slit down the middle. Something, with surgical precision, had slit down the middle part of his ear. Again, thinking nothing about it, he put a small plaster on it and decided to go to work. Upon coming home from work, he found the Anguished Man lying on the floor with a more sinister expression on the portrait's face. But weirdest of all, he found writing on the walls that read, "Everyone has betrayed me." Upon reading this, the door slammed shut, locking in place. Michael ran to his bedroom, locked the door, and not even looking at the horrors that lurked inside. After locking his door, he noticed some more etching in blood, which read, "Turn around." Slowly, he turned around to find the Anguished Man drenched in a vast pool of blood, looking at him, staring at him. The portrait now depicts two figures screaming with hollow eyes and hollow mouths. If you look close enough, you'll see two little tears on one's face. End quote. The last haunted painting was created by Ukrainian artist Svetlana Telets in 1996 and is known as the Rain Woman or the Woman of the Rain. The painting depicts a woman dressed in all black, from the waist up and with a slightly elongated neck and face. She is wearing a wide-brimmed hat and is set against a rainy background. The expression on her face is interesting. She appears to be looking down through half-closed eyelids, and to me, has a slight smirk. Something interesting. There is little to no information on Svetlana Telets, apart from the Woman of the Rain. It's almost as if her entire story is wrapped up in this one allegedly haunted painting. And the backstory to the painting is as interesting and scary as the phenomenon surrounding the painting. The story goes that for 6 months before painting The Woman of the Rain, Svetlana Telets felt something strange. At first, it was slight flashes of light in the corner of her eye. She would turn to look, but the flashes quickly disappeared. No matter how often this happened, she could not shake the scary feeling that she was constantly being watched. One article containing an interview with Svetlana Telets stated, quote, "I always felt that someone was constantly watching me." End quote. One day, she decided to paint. As she put paint to canvas, she, quote, "felt something guide her hand." End quote. For the next 5 to 6 hours she painted, though apparently under the influence of a supernatural being. Quote, "She felt sure it was the thing that was watching her, imploring the tendons of her hand to flex and stiffen until she was left with a completed Rain Woman." Some websites claim it took her 5 hours, others 6. Either way, a ghost was inhabiting Telets, like an oil painting puppeteer. End quote. From start to finish, Svetlana Telets was convinced some unseen force was moving her hand along the canvas. Shortly after completion, Svetlana put the painting up for sale at a local art shop. The painting sold and was returned just as quickly. Again, it would sell, and again, it would be returned. Again and again. Shortly after purchasing the painting and bringing it home, the buyer would experience a scary array of phenomena, including, quote, sleeplessness, nightmares, general misfortune, conflict with others living within the home, the feeling of constantly being watched, and in extreme cases, the sense that someone else was actively walking around the home, someone who is not one of the home's occupants. End quote. The first buyer hung the painting in her bedroom, and upon returning it stated, quote, "Please take her away. I cannot sleep. It seems that there is someone in the apartment besides me. I even took it off the wall and hid it in the closet, but it doesn't help." End quote. The second buyer hung the painting in his living room, and upon returning it, stated, quote, "I dream about it. Every night she appears and follows me like a shadow." End quote. The third buyer bought the painting knowing it was haunted. Yet despite this, they too experienced something scary. Quote, "At first, I didn't notice how white her eyes were. And then, they began to appear everywhere. It seemed like just a little bit longer, and I would drown in them." End quote. Something interesting. In order for someone to experience these strange occurrences, they must have been in possession of the painting. And as soon as they got rid of it, the haunting stops. Every buyer complained of similar experiences: insomnia, anxiety, and feeling like they were constantly being watched. And then, when they returned the painting, life went back to normal. In 2008, Sergei Skachko purchased The Woman of the Rain, and by all accounts, he still owns it. However, he and his wife reported experiencing scary occurrences. Quote, "He said that she walks around the room at night, and his wife is afraid of her." End quote. I'll confess, I'm not sure whether I believe these paintings are truly haunted. The skeptic in me thinks they were possibly a great marketing strategy. The Hands Resist Him is a genuinely eerie painting to look at, but I wonder if the deaths of the gallery owner and art critic are more coincidence than anything else. The Anguished Man is equally disturbing, and if nothing else, it looks like it could be haunted. But with one owner, it's hard to verify the claims of an evil painting. And something else. The backstory for me is a tough sell. When you consider the current owner claims the artist is unknown, while also claiming the artist infused the painting with his blood and eventually died by suicide. For me, The Woman of the Rain is the most likely to be haunted or cursed. The backstory is equally spooky and believable, and the steady stream of returns lends credibility to the possibility of it being haunted. I've said it before, but this is what makes these stories so damn scary. The possibility, however small, that it could be true. As we close this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're left with these lingering questions. Is there such a thing as a haunted or cursed painting? Can an evil spirit attach itself to a work of art and torment its owner? And are these three paintings truly haunted? I've shared the details. Now you decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.